Brian Noe, as you know, I'm always one of those guys that get people worked up because I give them a different slant on stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't trash Steph Curry and say he was garbage or that his performance in the gold medal game was terrible or whatever. He made those 4 threes at the end. I simply stated fact. Facts. F-A-C-T-Z. Where I went to school, that's how we spell facts. Okay? And guys like Gilbert Arenas and Doug Gottlieb all got their panties in a bunch because they don't know what the definition of clutch is. You look at the shots he made, and I said they were big shots. Brian Noe, they were big shots, right? But it's not about, this isn't Robopedia. This is the NBA. They deem what is a clutch shot, their own definition. Are you ready, Brian?
I'm ready for it. Yeah, hit me with it.
The NBA defines clutch as under 5 minutes, score within 5. Mm-hmm. Only one of those 3-pointers fit that category. The other 3, they were up by 6. You know what I mean? Like, it was a big shot. But clutch to me is Aaron Judge hitting a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th when you're down by 1. That's clutch. Mm-hmm. Tying the game. Ray Allen for the Miami Heat, right? When he tied the game, sending it in overtime. That's a clutch shot. That's all I'm saying. People are so defensive if you say anything against Steph. I've talked to plenty of NBA players. I say, if you only had a chance to get, well, you have to get one basket to win the game, who would you give the ball to? Nobody picks Steph. Nobody. And the numbers, Brian, are very obvious. He's 0 for 14 in the final 50 seconds with a chance to tie or put his team ahead. 0 for 14 in the postseason. I'm not talking about regular season games. I'm talking about postseason. It's hard for me to look at a guy and call him clutch or the greatest shooter of all time when he hasn't made those baskets. Does he have to be 14 for 14? No. But 0 for 14 is pretty small. It tells me when the moment's big and the lights are bright like a hamburger on one of those fast food restaurants with the lamp on it or whatever, he wilts or he doesn't come through. That's all.
Man, okay, Rob, so here's the thing. I'll give you credit because you have found a technicality in the ointment. I don't know if that's a technicality in the ointment, right? No more flies. We have technicalities in the ointment. Because, yes, if we're talking about the actual definition, yeah, only one of those shots were deemed clutch, right? Where we're talking about under 5 minutes, score within 5 points. Only one of those 4 3-pointers by Steph at the end against France was a quote-unquote clutch shot. So, like, there's no arguing with that. And you said at the very beginning, and this was an important point by you, you said those were big shots.
No doubt. I'm not trying to belittle them or say, like, he didn't do anything. They're big shots, Brian. I would be lying if I say they weren't big shots. To make a 6-point game a 9-point game and at that time. I get it.
Yeah, and that last 3, while doubled and fading away, was just insane. So to string 4 of those together in a row, and the French commentators are calling him the devil, that was pretty special, man. That was a signature moment. The night, the whole thing. That was Steph Curry on the heels of what he did against Serbia, 36 points and 9 3-pointers. He was sensational the last 2 games. But that's the thing, Rob. I feel like this is the difference between reading the headline and then reading the column. Like your headline of Steph Curry's shots weren't clutch. It's like, what? What are you talking about? And then you read the column and you're like, I see what you're saying, and technically only one of those shots was the definition of clutch. You're not wrong with the argument, but the headline catches your attention, and people assume you're saying something that you're not.
Right, and it ain't even my definition, Brian. You know that's the big thing. That's what the NBA and their own bylaws or rules or whatever, what they consider clutch. That's what it is. I always say that. Even Brian, I'll look at shots. Okay, if the game is tied, you have the ball, right? The clock is running down. That's not a clutch shot to me. And I'm going to tell you because you don't lose. There's no pressure on you. You know, make or miss, we're going to overtime. Am I right? Like I'm not saying that it's not a difficult shot or it's a great shot if you can make it, but it ain't the same when you're down a point and if you miss, the game is over or your team's out of the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. It ain't the same shot.
It would be like, let's throw it to football. The first thing that came to my mind was when the Giants were facing the undefeated Patriots, and they're down by 4 points. That has to be a touchdown drive. That's the only way.
Plain and simple.
Right. So if you're talking about, hey, we're down by 1, we're down by 2, you mentioned the Ray Allen shot. If he misses that, finals over. Done.
And maybe changes LeBron's whole legacy. Right? Because that's how big that shot was.
It's a different type of pressure. If you're even and this is a last-second shot, buzzer beater, I still think there's pressure with that. But to your point, it's not the same pressure as do or die. Like, you got to make this or the dream is dead.
No, it's a big shot. I'm not saying, like, even when Kyrie made the 3 to beat the Warriors, the score was tied. It's a big shot, great comeback. No team had ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. Like, a lot of things there on the road, Game 7, but it was a big shot. It was a big shot. There was no doubt about it. So I'm not saying there weren't big shots. You just talked about it was a moment in Steph's career. But all these guys who get worked up and think like I'm the Antichrist and I hate Steph Curry. Like, I don't know Steph Curry. I have no reason to hate Steph Curry. Everything this guy exudes is positive, is fun. What is there to hate about Steph Curry? I'm sorry. Everybody doesn't have to be on the Steph Curry bandwagon for it to be, you know what I mean, for people to feel good about themselves. I'm just telling you, when you talk about calling somebody the greatest of all time, and I brought up his name 1,000,000 times, right? Marv Levy, the coach of the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. Do you know why he's never mentioned in the conversation of greatest coaches of all time?
Because he was 0 for 4 in the Super Bowl.
He never won.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the reason. We know he was a great coach, don't we?
Sure.
But nobody will consider him the greatest coach of all time because when it really mattered, nobody said, well, he won the AFC 4 years in a row. No, when it really mattered, his team lost. Mm-hmm. And so people say, yeah, he had a really good career or whatever, but nobody is going to put him in that category because it's about that. It's not about getting to the front door of the Playboy Mansion. It's about getting in, Brian Noe. I want in.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I just love that some people go straight to calling you the Antichrist. That's like, holy cow.
My goodness gracious.
But yeah, listen, I think it's important for people to understand. You're not saying these weren't big shots. You aren't saying he didn't come up huge in the last 2 games, which he did. You go back to the game against Serbia, the biggest sequence in that game, Serbia was up by 2, and they had a wide-open 3-point shot, and they missed it. They could have gone up by 5, and who hit the 3 to take the lead? Steph Curry, with just over a couple of minutes to go. Huge shot, clutch shot there, by definition. But, yeah, when you're talking about this with France, those were signature moments for Steph in those 2 games. And I love how you see these cracks, these little openings, to needle. And you're technically right. That's the beauty of the whole thing.
Technically, except when it comes to Gilbert Arenas, who's, I guess, my new arch enemy, I guess. But check out Gilbert Arenas trying to create his own definition of clutch. Listen to this.
I think it's how Steph got the gold is more important than just the medal itself, right? He showed on the highest level he's clutch. right? And not the media's version of clutch, right? Not the media's version of, hitting shots with 3 seconds left and, whatever metrics that they came up with to make themselves sound smarter. Not that clutch. Basketball clutch, right? Where we're in the middle of a back and forth. Every shot I take now is pressured, right? Every shot you take now, you're trying to win and I'm trying to keep you at bay. So every shot, those last 4 shots were pressure shots because if he misses them, it's a different game, right? And people don't understand. Like, if you never played the game, you don't understand what real clutch is.
Yeah.
The moment in time, every shot he took was a shot to seal it, put it away, keep him at bay.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what that moment was.
I don't know, Rob.
So he came up with I guess that's basketball clutch, and I guess the people at the NBA who wrote the what a clutch shot is, I guess they don't know basketball, and that's always the crutch for all these guys. You put a microphone in front of them, and they're going to tell you, right, some other story different from other. I'm sorry, yes, I didn't play in the NBA, but guess what, Gilbert Arenas? You didn't go to journalism school. You didn't graduate from Columbia. You have a podcast. You're not on a radio network on 400 stations around the country. Whatever it is, but you can make up basketball clutch and talk about a shot in the first half and say that was a clutch shot when the NBA itself deems it in the last 5 minutes. Not Rob Parker. So he says, "Well, if you haven't played, well, you came up with the NBA." Not Rob Parker. Go look it up, Gilbert Arenas.